Mr. Gabe Sanchez. Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here. I do have a presentation to take you through that'll basically take you through the operations, what we do. Most of you are knowledgeable with our partnership efforts. If not, obviously there'll be further sessions today and so on to take you through it. But it's a pleasure to be here also because it's Saturday, so I don't have to wear a tie, which is good. I was down in McAllen yesterday for a border conference we were having there, and that speaks to the diversity that we have in this region, that the concerns in Mississippi and Louisiana are different than the concerns in Dallas or Houston or El Paso. So it does tend to be a complex picture, but the most important thing, which is a deep held belief of me, my region, and all my employees, is that, and the Census Bureau as a whole, is that the census is a national effort that happens every 10 years that has to occur at the local level. It's a national effort at the local level. So the federal government can't come in and do what needs to be done. We can't just come into a community and take account and then get back out again. We have to engage community leaders and community organizations to let you know the importance of what the census is, because for some reason nobody trusts the federal government. I don't know why, but for some reason there's a real trust issue there. So what we need to do is demystify what the census is, make people understand that we're a government agency that's not going to tax you, we're not going to do bad things or do anything bad with the information. We're just compiling the information to be used for apportionment and distribution of federal funds based on population formulas. So anyway, let me take you through this presentation quickly, and then I believe we'll have some time for Q&A afterwards. So some of this you heard, we have 12 regions. We've been doing this since 1790. But the Census Bureau is a statistical collection agency for the federal government. It's better this way because I don't want to block with my big head. We're the statistical collection agency of the federal government. So therefore we collect, for instance, the jobs number that came out, even though that came out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that's our number. Our field people collect that in the street. Whenever there's a collection operation of data, it's usually Census Bureau employees that do it. Through the American Community Survey, through a variety of other surveys. We collect information from the federal government, Justice Department, and so on, and then they publish it under their mantra. But obviously we're known for the big banner thing, which is the decennial census, which is what I'm going to talk to you about now. You heard this. The purpose is, it's in the Constitution. It's only one of two things in the U.S. Constitution that the federal government must do. The first is take a census. The second is have elections. Everything else is made up. So talk to your congressman. Anyway, those are the only two things that we absolutely have to do in the federal government. So the original purpose was for apportionment. That was the original purpose of the census. But in modern times, it has come to be seen by most of the people as a way to affect the amount of federal funds that come into their community. It's used for I believe the last number that they had calculated was $400 billion annually get distributed on population formulas. So therefore, as the great example that was given before, if you have X amount of people in your community, then that's how many you get. Now, a new thing that we have seen in the last 20 or 30 years is the increasing use by city planners as well as by private companies in using the. I need two? Oh, okay. I'm okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Mic and video. Sorry. Okay, so something we've seen in the last couple of censuses has been that companies are now more and more basing their decisions on census data. It's no longer the concept of where would it be nice to have a Starbucks. It's a matter of how many people live there, how many people are going to walk by it, what's in the area. The same thing is used by businesses for jobs, where they're going to be putting the plant, where they're going to be opening the office because they need to know that they'll have workers and so on. So there's increasing ripple effects to the census. It's only growing in importance. It's affecting your federal funding. It's affecting your representation at the federal level. It's used down to the way they divide police precincts. It's used to the way they divide whether you're going to get a new firehouse or not. Is determined by the amount of people living in that area. So it's just a humongous amount of ripple effects that go down from the census numbers. And the last bullet is that since it is a task in the Constitution and federally mandated, we have an unbreakable timeline that we have to complete our work by. And that has some effects, which we're going to talk to as we get into the operation. But it's something that we just cannot break. In other words, if we're doing something, if we're doing an operation and the recruiting numbers aren't what they should be, we can't say, oh, we'll take a couple of more weeks to do some more recruiting. Or we can't say, oh, let's leave it open another month to get some more results in. Everything's on a very tight, regimented timeline as far as what the Census Bureau does. Okay, census is 5 basic steps. And again, this is a vast simplification, but I think we'll have time for Q&A, so you can jump into it as we go. Find out where people live, get the questionnaires to them, encourage them to fill it out, chase after the ones that don't, and ensure that we got the numbers right and everyone was counted. Next. So step 1, finding out where people live. We do this by geography. The first thing that's very important to understand about the census is it is not a census of people. We are not looking for Joe to get a questionnaire to Joe. It is a census of housing units. We send questionnaires to a housing unit, and we count that housing unit. So we have to identify all of the places where people live and could live. So we do that in a variety of ways. We have this thing called a master address file, which is a thing that only Census Bureau keeps, and it's a master directory of all of the places in America where people live or could live. That's different than addresses. Addresses are what the post office has, and they give us those files, of course. They give us the files, every month, the update of every address that the post office has. But we do a variety of other things. We go to all the local governments, all registered local governments in the United States, get invitation to share their list of what addresses they have, either from tax rolls, from permits, from whatever they have. But even that doesn't go far enough. The main way that we put in a lot of addresses that aren't caught by those first 2 is through canvassing operations. The canvassing operation, which was completed about 4 months ago, is where we walked every single block in the United States. A Census Bureau employee walked every block, looked at every address in our master address file, and determined whether we needed to add anything or delete it if the house got torn down or something like that. And what I mean by that is the trailer in the back of 123 Main Street. If there's a trailer in the back of 123 Main Street that has curtains and a family in it, post office is not going to deliver to it because that's not one of their addresses. They know 123 Main Street. They don't know the trailer in the back. The city doesn't know about it because if they did, they tax it, and who knows what they do, so nobody's going to tell them about it. So the only people that know that there's a trailer in the back of 123 Main Street with a family of immigrants living in it is hopefully us. And we keep that confidential because we keep the information we collect confidential, but we now know it's there, so we've added that during our canvassing operations. And then when we get to distributing the questionnaire, which is the next step, we'll get a questionnaire to them, but let's continue where we are. So again, the key is that we go to places where people live or could live. That includes, for instance, for people with non-traditional housing, which we do in a group quarters operation, like people that live under bridges, people that live in a campground, et cetera, et cetera. We also do a new construction program, so even up to the last minute, we're getting from the cities and from the post office any records that they have about new construction, new permits that they've given out, anything to get our address list as accurate as possible, because again, the census is about counting households, not individuals. Okay, next slide, please. So the second piece is getting the questionnaires to them. We use a couple of different ways to get the questionnaires to them. Obviously, the majority method for most of the country and almost all of Houston will be by mail. We love the post office as much as the next man, but we understand that they have some issues with their delivery files, so our address files attempts to do it that way. So again, in my example, 123 Main Street trailer in the back, that is what the actual questionnaire will say, 123 Main Street trailer in the back.